Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. Sorry I've not been around for a while. I've had some leave and stuff, and my health's deteriorated a fair bit actually over the last month or two. I've been having some problems with my work and it's like bullying to a degree, and HR have got involved, and anyway, things are just getting really complicated for me, especially with my health at the moment. So apologies, like I said, I've not been around for a week or two. Trying to catch up with some of the things I've been wanting to look at for a few weeks now. As you can see, we're looking back at the Amiga 500 Plus here. This is the one that I recently repaired. It needs cleaning up a bit. I haven't cleaned the case up fully yet. It perhaps needs de-yellowing and stuff, but yeah, it's all connected up, and as you can see, it's working okay. I've got another floppy drive that's just arrived, actually a faulty one, and a memory module that's been sat around for a week or two. So I think the memory module, I'll show you in a sec, it's a half a meg, and there's a fault with it, and the floppy drive doesn't read. So I think what I'm going to do in the first instance is I'll just make sure this is working still, because I've not used it for a few months here now. Load a few games on it before I do anything else, and then I'll get the other floppy drive in and I'll have a look at that floppy drive first. Right, I've been playing around with it for 20 minutes and everything's fine, it's working without issue. I thought I'd boot Workbench and we'll just see how much memory is reported, and I'll just move the cursor up the top here that you can see this. Perhaps zoom in. Yeah, just so you can see the number of bytes free there. 793,344 graphics memory free with 0 other mem. So that'll come in handy when we come to test that additional RAM shortly. So actually I'm going to mix things up a bit. I'm going to stick the RAM in first actually, just because it's the easiest thing to do. So as you can see, it's you've got these, I think these are 32K, you've got 16 of them, so you've got half a meg on there. Interesting thing with this, it's a third party one, obviously, it's not, there's no copyright messages or anything on there, so this is the sort of thing that companies could easily, homebrew themselves back in the day, because all you really needed was this, and it's probably industry standard, that connector. That connector, that's all you needed really, and obviously your PCB layout really. There's not much on here, some pull-ups or something I think. There might not be pull-ups, I'm not sure. And then the RAM, and obviously a switch to... Now I think, I was under this assumption this enabled or disabled the RAM, but I'm not sure. If you look what it does, it just connects ground to one of the pins here. That's all it does. It grounds that pin, so I'm not sure whether that maybe alters the address, the start address of this, rather than disable it completely. It might swap between chip or fast, I'm not sure. Not sure whether you need to do an additional mod to be able to do that. But it's also got the space here and some component space for what I think is probably the real-time clock circuit. Probably. I mean, nothing's marked, there's no markings on the silk, there's no silk screen. So it's, how you would populate that, I'm not sure. You need to compare to the circuit from the perhaps the 500 Plus motherboard, the real-time clock there, or one of the expansions that have the real-time clock, perhaps a Commodore one. But you could do that. You could populate that with with the relevant components there and get the clock circuit working, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm not interested in the clock anyway. So it'd be interesting to see what's wrong with this. I'm suspecting one or more of these DRAM chips are going to be faulty, because the solder points underneath there look really good. I've had a basic inspection of this. I can't see any track damage or anything like that, so it can only be the DRAM if there's a fault. But it'd just be interesting to test this now and see how much memory shows on the Workbench screen there. So the expansion RAM just goes in the slot there. You just stick a screw over a coin, perhaps a coin or something better, into there, twist it so that comes out. And as you can see, this goes in here. Now it can only go one way. Can you see? If you look at the the alignment here, it's obvious. It can only fit one way. That's quite good. Just make sure you've got your top row into the top slot and you've not offset it like that. It'd be very easy to. Can you see that's out by one? It'd be very easy to do that and perhaps either damage your expansion or damage your Amiga. So we'll just slide that in like that. Doesn't feel like it's in all the way actually. Yeah, it's not going any further than that. You can see there's a bit of a gap, just a little gap down there, but yeah, that's as far as it's going to go. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe we've not got a good connection there with the pins going in, or maybe it's just because they're very long. But yeah, I'll just temporarily stick that back over. I'm not going to clip it on, but I'll just put it there just so it doesn't flow onto the carpet. Turn it upside down, switch it on, and see what happens. Well, the interesting thing there is it's booted up okay, and you see we've got what looks like on first inspection the approximate correct value. I need to check that with a calculator, but yeah, I think we've got like an extra 512k showing there. You know, it was like 700k before. We've now got 1.3 meg, just over 1.3 meg. So yeah, I might need to get a RAM test program or something running on this. But I think I've got some games that perhaps we might be able to make use of that memory. Having said that, no, they're not. They're usually 1 meg games, aren't they? There's 1 meg on the A500 Plus to start with. So yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to test that just now. Might be able to use the RAM disk, copy something to it, fill it all up, and then copy it all back out or something, test it. That might be an idea. I'll have a think about that. I might need to come back to that. So just testing with that additional RAM actually seems to be working alright. It's just a question of whether it's being utilised, because a lot of these games for the Amiga 500, certainly you know the earlier ones, only utilised up to about a meg really. Typically, you know, it's the half a meg or a meg. Some of the later titles used more, you know, they'd use 2 meg and stuff if you had an Amiga 1200, but it was certainly probably a bit rarer to use more, you know, between say 1 and 2 meg. So if you got like an extra half a meg, yeah, I'm sure there are games that do utilise it, but of all the games I've tried, everything seems to work all right. No crashes in Workbench, even when you use the RAM disk there. So it could be a bit of a red herring. It might be a case of someone's not been able to test it and just assumed it's faulty. Maybe they've just not been able to sell it and just decided it was easy just to sell it as spares repair. But I'll do more tests and report back if there's anything on there. I think what we'll do next is have a look at the floppy drive. So I've got the floppy drive out there. This is the one you saw me clean up in an earlier video. It's silent, this drive now, and it works flawlessly. Where's the other one? The other one is over here. So yeah, we'll have a look at this next. I'm not going to clean it up or anything to start with. I just want to try it. I'm going to connect it all up and we'll just boot a disk and see if we can get some read errors out of it, because it's always nice to get an error out of something and then see the error you know, disappear once you've done some sort of remedial work. Now we are getting some read errors there, I think. I don't know if you heard that. It did a like double seek, like it was struggling to read something. So to get the drive mechanism out, I've shown this before, but I'll show it again just for any new viewers here. It's these 2 screws on the sides. And bear in mind that this is a particular model. There's different models of these. There's TIAC drives, Chinon drives, Sony drives, all sorts of different drives you can get for the Amiga actually. But yeah, if we get these front 2 screws out first. And that little screw on the back there that I always forget. So you can see straight away what the problem is. This is just covered in dust, thick dust. If you have a look at the mechanism here, look at this. Look at the state of that. There's no wonder that doesn't work properly. Yeah, hopefully it's coming out. This level of dust on there is unbelievable. So that's all it's going to be. It's just going to be, let's say, some cotton buds and my IPA, collect all the dust, clean up the heads with the cotton buds as well. I might just use a tiny bit of Plastex on the heads there, just to make sure they're super clean. There's very little in the way of capacitors and things on these. They're probably alright, but if you ever get a problem with one of these where it still doesn't work, it might be worth trying to, well, a few different things. Demagnetise the heads like I showed in my 1541 videos. Demagnetising them can sometimes make a huge difference. Obviously lubricate the rail, that's what we're going to do in a minute, get some oil into that motor there. But you could swap out the 4 electrolytics on here as well. There's a chance that that's going to be part of it, but you know, it is a fluff and dust thing, I think, in this instance. This is what's wrong with this one. Yeah, so this is just covered, as you can see, just absolutely covered in dust. I've never seen one this bad actually. Oh my god, it's really bad. Look at that. Oh, that's terrible. Well, you wouldn't believe the trouble I've had with this drive, actually. What was before a very minor read issue turned into it not reading track, the initial boot track there at all. You put a disc in, it was just like the head would just go do and then give up, and then put the disc in again, like there's 2 or 3, maybe 4 seeks there and nothing. And I cleaned up the heads again a second time. Still the same. Demagnetised the heads, the same. Disconnected these ribbons here, reconnected them again, the same. Cleaned up again, cleaned up the rail again. Got some fresh oil in there. Moved the head all the way up here and then let it seek back again to get oil into the motor. All doing the same things, and then eventually, after giving it one last, reconnecting these again, but also blowing some compressed air into the sensor here, the track 0 sensor. That's it. That solved it. I'm pretty sure there was a particle of dust that got into that track 0 sensor there, so it wasn't quite perfectly aligned in terms of track 0. That seems to be what was wrong with it, because it's flawless now. So I'll reassemble it and give it a thorough testing, but yeah, that was a little bit odd. I wasn't expected at all. Yeah, so it's looking a success. All the discs I've thrown at it since I cleaned it up, which worked flawlessly. Not an issue at all, not a reread or a reseek, etc. It just loads fluidly. See if we can skip the intro, just go into the game here. One of the things I love about the Amiga is the PC music is just fantastic, it really is. Well, I mean, some games, certainly some of the earlier ones anyway, it's kind of misused, just loads of PCM instruments and things used to poor effect. But like games like this, as you can hear, the music's awesome. They did a fantastic job on some of these games. So I've extended this because I'm going to fix 3 more. Well, I'll try and fix 3 more drives as well. Now this part of this video was filmed probably 6 months-ish, maybe 5 months since the last part. So this 500 plus here has just been sat around in storage. Just wanted to test it with that drive. As you can see here, that's working okay. It's loading all right. If I just click the button, it's loading fine there. It should load the intro. I think we get like an animated introduction on this, if I remember rightly. I think we're going to get past the copy protection bit first. I'm not sure. Yeah, that bit where you put your pilot name in or whatever. But as you can see, it's reading there. It's just stopping the decompressing. Yeah, it's working fine. So that drive is totally functional. I did test it a fair bit at the back end of that last video, but it just wanted to make sure it was still okay, because it's not been used in 5 or 6 months. It's just been sat around. But yeah, it's still working. So I'll take that drive out now. Got these 3 drives here. Now the annoying thing with these is the seller has taken off the buttons, which really annoys me when they do that, because on all of them, they don't break that often. It's not like you're going to be using it as a regular spare. You might just get 1 drive out of about 100 where the button's broken off it or something. So anyway, the main thing is if we can get these working, they'll be good replacements. You can always swap the button over, but you need the exact model, unless you could make something similar or alter the thing to fit. But anyway, so I think before we do anything with these, I'm not going to connect them and test them. I'm going to clean them up first, because the last thing you want to be doing is putting your good working discs into a drive of sort of unknown origins kind of thing. Well, we know these are definitely faulty, and if you look inside, they're pretty filthy. There are 3 of these in total. I think 2 of them came from A1200s or A600s, and one of them, probably this one, is an A500 drive. You can see some corrosion on the shield in there, but yeah, it's a chin-on, I think. Let's look at this other one. What's that one? This one's a chin-on as well, FZ-354, but that's off a 600 or a 1200, I think, as is this one. This is a Panasonic. Yeah, I've seen a fair few of those knocking around in 1200s. And just try and collect all of this dust and fluff up. Look at that, that's disgusting. I'll do the mechanism first. I'll get as much of it out of the mechanism as I can. It's going to end up needing several cotton buds at least, I think, to do this. And then I'll focus on the heads. So I got most of the fluff and dust and stuff out there, and removed the old grease off that rail because it was thick, covered thick with dust. and just put some general lubricant on here. You're supposed to use something like lithium grease or something, but I always do it this way. It seems to be alright. All the drives I've been doing for the last 20 years have always been reliable. And then when the head goes back in, that oil should travel back into the motor assembly. I'll stick some more on now actually. I'll just leave it extended. But the next thing I'm going to do is just clean the heads. That's more than enough, I think. Yeah, instead of using IPA, I'm going to do what I've been doing with the C64 drives, which is to use that Maguire's Plastex, because it works a lot better. It's just a case of just lifting, I've shown this all before, just lifting the head up a little bit, not beyond where it's normally stopping, you know, it feels like it's going to naturally stop, and then just wipe the head with some Plastex, and then use some IPA just to make sure there's no Plastex there, just to remove any residue. I think at that point we'll test it. So connected here, powered up, the drive is clicking because it's obviously waiting for a disk. Let's get a disk in. Bear in mind I've not cleaned up the switches. I don't know if you can see this. We've got success already, I think. Skip past that. Skip past that. Yeah, I think we'll call that a success. Obviously more rigorous testing needs to be done, but all signs are that that's all that's wrong with this. Brilliant. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. So I've just sprayed a tiny bit of contact cleaner into these two switches and then disengaged them a few times, just made sure the surrounding area is clean. There's just a bit actually just needs wiping off there. That's it. Yeah, that should be okay now, I think. So now that's all done, I'll stick it back in here. But before I do that, I've wiped out the inside, which is important to do because obviously you get dust and stuff collected on the inside of that as well. And then these bits of corrosion here, I'm just going to gently go over them with the wire brush to get the surface corrosion off. And then just wipe over this with a rag with some WD-40 on it, and that should be sufficient. It should help control that in future. There's just one or two bits like that are really rusty on top. You can tell when you've got rid of it because it goes all smooth. It's important you do this though, because these flakes, yeah, it's just cosmetic. It's not going to do anything to your drive, but any of these flakes that come off, where are they going to land? They're going to land on your board. And they're going to be conductive. So there we go, I've rubbed that all down with the wire brush there. Just get this, let's say, rag with a bit of WD-40, and we'll just wipe over that. Now it's nice and smooth, you can tell because the brush stops making a scratchy noise when it's, look at that. Yeah, when you've removed it, it stops making a scratchy noise, the surface becomes smooth. Just use a dry rag here just to give that a gentle wipe. Should be alright, I think. So looking at the Panasonic now, the assembly is slightly different. You've got to lift that over there, but you've also got these screws to take out on the back first, so make sure you get those screws before you try and lift that back piece off. Yeah, so it's a similar story, a bit dirty. But the thing with these Panasonic ones, I think on this board here, sometimes you get the little SMD caps, so we'll take this board off, I think, and have a look on the underside of it. So in order to get the board off, you've got the 3 screws that hold it in, but you also need to disconnect this little connector here for the stepper, and then you've got the 2 little ribbons down here which need just carefully pulling out as well. Might be better off using a pair of pliers just on the top the top piece there, this little thing designed to allow you to pull it, that's it. And then hopefully, there'll still be a ribbon here holding it, but hopefully this should start to come off. There's one more down here, you can see that. That's for the track 0 sensor. So you can just pull that out gently, there we go. That's it. And then other than the connection down there, which seems soldered on, you can see that it's actually soldered, that ribbon down there, so I have to be very careful with that. But as you can see, SMD cap, so that might need swapping out. We'll inspect it. It might not do. These Panasonic ones are pretty reliable actually, so I'll inspect it closely. If it needs replacing, I'll report back. If it doesn't, I'll just assume it's you know, I won't show you, I'll just reassemble it, and we'll assume it's probably going to be the heads again and just some lubrication required. So I've done the same thing with this one. One thing you'll notice here, can you see that little SMD? There's another PCB at the top on the front. So we might need to swap out that cap, I'm not sure, but it's clicking and the head's just moved back to the home position. So let's try a disc, see what happens with this one. Yeah, it's loaded the screen there. Just click the button, and again. I would suggest that one's working as well actually. It's amazing really. So many of these drives that people think are faulty and there's actually nothing wrong with them other than they just need clean and lubrication. Because I've had 3, make that 4 drives prior to this video that I've done exactly the same thing with, all Amiga drives. I think one needed a cap, the other 3 were just clean-ups. But yeah, that one's working fine as well. So in this particular video, that's an additional 3 so far. So we'll have a look at the 4th one now and see if anything different needs doing to that one. So on to the last one here. This is the another chin on an FZ-354. It looks similar to the Panasonic in that the lid looks like it's clipped in. So I have to get my flat blade. I think probably just need to just lift it over that lip there and do the same here. Yeah, there we go, that side's off and then this side should just hinge out. Track 0 sensor looks a bit misaligned there, don't you? You can see that. That PCB's not straight. That could have something to do with the fault on this one. Because if that's not straight, if you see where the sensor is here, it's going to be fractionally out in terms of you know, when the little arm here swipes through the beam. So you never know, that might be what's wrong with this one. Although it's got a little notch there, a little metal notch, which suggests that that's the way it's supposed to be. Just slightly offset at a very slight angle there. But anyway, yeah, it's very similar. In order to get to the PCB, it looks like we'd have to take this bottom piece of shielding off. There's a few screws. I think there's a screw there, and there'll be a screw under here. So we'll perhaps just take that off and just have a quick look underneath. Yeah, I'm not sure right now whether I want to do that, because I've took the screws out here. So you would think that the inner part here would come out, but if you look, you know, the mechanism is sort of part of this whole thing here. So though, you know, these would come unclipped and bits might fly out, etc. I think I'll do the same thing. I'll just clean it up, lubricate the switches, lubricate the rail. Well, not lubricate the switches, clean the switches, lubricate the rail, and just test it before I commit to actually trying to rip all this apart here. I'm just thinking that, you know, if there is a problem with this timing related, where it's not spinning at the right speed, there's going to be an SMD cap somewhere on the PCB, and the only way we're going to be able to get to it is probably take these screws out and then and remove the whole thing. But like I say, it's anybody's guess as to what happens with all this mechanism here when you do that. It could be a bit fiddly to put it back together. Strangely enough, we've got a bit of corrosion there on this one and on here, so I'm just going to wire brush that off and then just wipe it down with a cotton bud with some WD-40. Yeah, so the last one, it's loading the boot sector. They've got the intro up there, the cracked throw. Click, click. I think this is giving read errors. You can hear the head there seeking up and down. So some more work needs to be done to this. It's definitely it's got some sort of problem when it goes beyond the initial track. So I mean, it could be caps, but I suspect that maybe the head. I'm going to give the head a blast with the demagnetizer. Let's just see if that makes any difference. So if you come across this model and you're as stupid as me and you want to take the whole thing out, just so you can see which way it goes back, these little white, the offset, the top pieces go out wider. You can see that the top bits stick out wider to go into the edge of the case here. So if you just get the so it's positioned like that, and the same on the other side, because it's not easy to. It slipped out now. See, yeah. So they're like that there, and then the top part should be able to fit back on now, I think. So as you can see, I stripped this drive down right to its its lowest level of components. Really, there's still this PCB on here for the motor, the main spindle. I've had a really good inspection of this board, and I can't see anything at all. You've got the H-bridge driver here, but you see the rotation is okay. It sounds okay. The RPM probably is alright, I would think. You've got like one of these Hall sensors. Can you see like I forgot what they call it now. It's a Hall effect sensor, which is down here, I think, and there's a little magnet on the thing. As it goes round, it clocks, rotation, so it can determine the RPM. Now, sometimes with these drives, you get like a little SMD electrolytic, which is used as part of the timing circuit there, and it's usually that fails. And the telltale sign is that it either goes too slow or too fast. Usually too fast, actually. You can hear, it sounds like it's going to damn well take off. But there's nothing. There are no SMD electrolytics on here. No electrolytics at all, actually. As far as I can see, they're all ceramic. So there's a chance a ceramic cap has failed, but I don't think so. I think it's quite unlikely on something like this. The other thing is, let me see the heads. Now the heads have been cleaned up, but the fact it loads instantly from track 0 makes me think the heads are alright. Now it could be that it's only reading one side of the disc on track 0. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about the. I've not looked it up either. The disc format there in terms of track 0 and how it boots, and does it read some of side 1 and some of side 0? Each of the sides of the disc or not, or is it just one side? Because it could still be a head problem. The other thing is when it seeks up the disc there to read the next track, it could be that the ribbon's damaged or something, and as it extends out, you get a break as the flex cable's moved like that. It doesn't look like that, and it's quite unusual on a drive like this for that sort of problem to occur. But those are the sorts of things that could be at play. And obviously the alignment. Now, yeah, you need specialist equipment and stuff, certainly a proper test disc and stuff, and probably need to get it on a scope in order to adjust this. But the other thing I noticed while I was here, can you see this? It's stuck up. When you put a disc in, it doesn't lay completely flat as a result of that. So, I mean, that's hanging on there, so I'm just going to peel that off. Not sure. I don't think it's going to have any bearing on the problem, but it might do. I don't know. Depends if the disc fits in. You think with the guides and things, it would fit in there straight anyway, regardless of that. So then on this PCB, the only thing I could see really is there was 2 electrolytics here. There's still a third one I haven't done yet. 100. That one's a 100 microfarad, and that one's a 22. I've swapped those out. Got the old ones here. I can measure those afterwards. I'm not really bothered at this stage. There's nothing else again. There's no bad soled joints. There's no other electrolytics other than this one here, a 1 microfarad, I think it is. I think one of these is across the 12 volts, one's across the 5 volts. I'm just wondering if the 12 volts getting some noise when the stepper motor's going, it's generating some noise, which is, because that cap was on its way out. Maybe that's a problem. So a few things I've done there now. So I think I'll reassemble it and give it another try and just see if either of those things there, the caps and removing that thing's made any difference. So let's give this fourth one a test. So we've gone straight to the cracked throw there. Let's just click, click, and it's working. Yeah. So it would appear that it was the caps. Could have been that that sticky thing that was on top of the spindle there that was making the disc uneven. I don't know. I'm going to check those caps in a minute and I'll report back. They could have high ESR, but this does appear to be working. I'll probably edit this. I'll just wait for the title the screen to come up here. You can see that's working. But it's quite long, this intro. It takes a lot of loading. So I'll report back in a minute. I'll perhaps cut to when it asks for the second disc, and we'll just see how far it gets. Still going here.
Things are getting desperate. Yes, Mr. President. Is the equipment ready? Final preparations are in progress, sir. Is the team assembled? Yes, sir.
So we're on to disc 2. Let's take the disc out. I'll just show you we are still on the same drive. I'll try some original games in a minute, so let's just hit fire. There we go, it's loading. Excellent. So I'll try some of the discs. I'll perhaps report back in a minute. Yeah, I would say this is working. I've tested several games on this now, and every one's just flawless. So just did need that the caps replacing, I think, and a general clean up again, oiling of the worm bar there. What's amazing is that now makes something like 9. I think I've got 9. I counted them this morning. I've got 9 spare drives here for the 500, 1200, 600 that were all faulty. Many of them have been cleaned and tried to be fixed by the people, and they've not got them working. These particularly, the last 3 in this video here, they were so dirty I could tell no one's even been inside them. But it just goes to show how many of these drives out there that people are perhaps binning or saying are faulty, beyond repair just for parts and stuff, when actually they're not. It's a similar thing with the C64 drives. I've actually had 5 of those drives now. There's 2 I've not shown. I've still got 3 that I've kept for myself, and every one of them has worked. I know there are instances out there where the heads fail and stuff, and some of the motors fail, but I have not come across one yet. So there we go, all 4 drives cleaned up, serviced, reassembled, and working good. Thanks for watching. See you soon.
Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.